everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm extremely happy today because you don't know the amazing star I brought you for this amazing masterclass. His name is Nick Haines, and he is co-founder of the No More Boxes movement, which we are going to discuss a little bit about, CEO at Five Institute, and creator of the Vitality Test. He's also a speaker, consultant, writer. Like, you are going to learn a lot from him, and he is going to talk about who are we, like who are you in this society as an immigrant, as a human being, as a person, as an individual, and as yourself. Thank you so much, Nick, for being here.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. I feel truly honoured to have been asked, and I've been so excited about
the honor is all ours.
No, I'll take the honour. I will definitely take the honour.
Okay,
it's all mine.
Okay, it's all yours. So,
thank you.
Well, before we start, let me just introduce why we decided to talk about this, which is extremely important. When I reached out to you, I told you about some people who are immigrants who actually lose their way, like they no longer feel like they are the same person who they were before, and they cannot find themselves correctly in a new society in which they are asked to be something different or do something different or invent something different, because there's a lot of internal competition maybe, or internal responsibility with ourselves, with our families, and with the people that we left behind in our home country. So knowing about you and the No More Boxes movement that you like co-founded with Runa, I definitely wanted to talk about this situation with you, because I know that we are going to learn a lot of how to feel better with ourselves now that we're living a new life.
Oh yeah, well, it is my intention to help us as best I can, and particularly exploring when we kind of lose that sense of who am I, that sense of self-identity, or you're trying to reinvent yourself, or you're trying to make sense of who you are in that new world. So we're going to very much explore what gives us our identity and which part we feel we can have control over, or a sense of influence over, to give us this choice that we have. And I'm also going to give everyone a tool, something that they can use all their life, whatever circumstance they find themselves in, whatever situation they find themselves in. And not only will they be able to use this particular tool, but they'll be able to share and give it to other people as well, and they will be able to use it whatever situation they find themselves in. So it's something, it's something people that I work with find very, very useful as a way of thinking in a particular tool. So that will be my gift that will serve people all their lives. So that's my gift.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Nick. So I cannot wait to start this conversation. And well, first of all, I would love, if you don't mind, for you to explain us a little bit about you, the No More Boxes movement, and your experience being in the United States for a while, and how you managed it.
Yeah, what I might do is I might feed that bit of me in the States into an interesting section. My original background is Chinese medicine and philosophy. So I practiced for 35 years as a practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine. I trained in America, then the UK, then I went to work in China. So I traveled around, and that was an interesting experience. I'm not an immigrant. I've just moved. I've moved around, and there's a real difference between that experience and. However, in my practice, I worked in a particular area in Nottingham, and there was a lot of immigration in that area, and we set up a health service for people in a very deprived area, and exploring what the situations and how they impacted people's health. So we saw the sorts of stress that was going on that people were under when they were displaced or had lost their identity. So that's some of my background. And then with my dear friend Runa, who you know well, we set up the No More Boxes movement, which is this exploration of how we can be put in boxes. Someone says, oh, you're like this and you're like this. So some of the stuff we're going to be talking about in terms of who am I, it will be looking at through the lens of the boxes that we have been put in or we find ourselves in. And once you understand it from that way, it's a really useful way to start to reclaim your own identity and to make choices that give you the freedom or the sense of security. So we're going to have fun. We're going to look at some boxes.
It will be super fun. I just did a program with you and Runa, and it was full of discoveries and insights and debates with ourselves. So and with ourselves inside. So pay attention to this talk, because I know that it's going to be very useful. So Nick, this is your stage.
Thank you very much. So I think it's an interesting thing when we introduce ourselves to other people. And we say, oh, hello. They say, oh, hello. Tell me about yourself. And you introduce yourself. And you say, oh, hello, I am. And then you might say the country that you're from or your nationality, or you might introduce the job you do or the role that you do. Oh, hello, I'm so-and-so, I'm from this, I'm a teacher, or I'm a lawyer, or hello, I work with children, or whatever it is. There's something that you describe yourself, some box that you put yourself in as a way that you introduce yourself. Or you might say, once you've done that, oh, so well, tell us something more about you. And you might then say, oh, I love art, I love music, I love dance, or something. So you have these various different things. So we define and we give ourselves across in this particular way. We describe ourselves. And those boxes that we can put ourselves in can have magical qualities to them. If you say, oh, I'm a teacher, and if there are not many teachers in the area, or that's a sign of education, go, oh, you have a status, you are here. Or you might say, as I say, you say, I love art, I love painting, I love writing. And they say, oh, I love writing too. Oh, you must come and meet my friends. And suddenly your box, it gives you a community, a sense of belonging, and you can have shared experiences. So those boxes, they can give you a sense of belonging. You say, oh, I'm from this nation, or from this country, or from this club. I belong to somewhere, and I belong. So they give you status, and you can belong, or a sense of identity, or a common experience. So they give us lots and lots of things. The boxes can also be used as ways to understand other people, and that can be dangerous, because you could say, this woman is black and she is from Africa, and then someone says, oh, black from Africa, oh yes, I know what that person is. Well, are they from South Africa? Are they from Zimbabwe? Are they from Uganda? Are they from Are they from which part? And the black from South Africa is very narrow, and the diversity of black women from Africa is vast. The diversity amongst women is vast. Africa is vast. But yet we can go very narrow with these boxes, but yet they can be useful for all the reasons. You can also see the boxes that some of the worst things that have ever happened in the world have come from boxes of you. We look at slavery, when we said one group of people are in this box and they're white, and they have the right to own another group of people who are in a different box and they are black. And we see castes, and we see societies and hierarchies and suppression. So boxes, as Runa and I describe in our book, The Story of Boxes, they can be good. They can create this love and this community and this belonging and this status. But they can also be very ugly and really, really bad. And like I say, some of the worst things happen but yet we create these boxes for ourselves and for other people. Now, most of us, we go through our life just living in these boxes, so much so that we don't ever really think about it. We don't ever, unless you were to suddenly, for example, if you would suddenly lose your job and suddenly you were in this status and suddenly you have no job, who am I? So I remember when we spoke and I retired from being an acupuncturist, and I suddenly turned up at a party the very first day and someone said, oh, tell me what you do. And I went, oh, and for 35 years, I said, I'm an acupuncturist. I work in health. And I had to go, oh, I'm between jobs. I've retired. That's what I've done. They said, oh, you're very young to retire. And I went, oh, thank you. So I was suddenly moved from one box to another. So they label us. So most of us don't have to experience or have anything really challenge or look at any of these boxes. We go through life, and to a certain extent, we are trapped in these boxes. They define us to a large extent. However, if you're an immigrant, you are in a completely different position than anybody else in the world, because you have to you are confronted by those boxes. You have to examine those boxes in a way that none of us are, and no one that is not an immigrant has to do that. We just live in them, we accept in them, and we're held back by them, or we're liberated. But as soon as you become an immigrant, your whole boxed world alters. For a start, you're put in a box and you're called an immigrant. And what does an immigrant mean? There are kind of associations to that. We have things in our head that happen from that. And just to help the people that are listening in the masterclass, I just want to do a little experiment, a game with you that I think will be quite useful, to give you a sense of the boxes and how they lurk in our head. So I'm British, okay, English, British, whatever. So what I would like people to do that's listening to this masterclass is, I would like to, at a particular point, I'm going to ask you just to pause the video, and then I just want you to write down the first 3 things that come to your mind when you think of someone that's British. Someone that's British, what comes to your mind? So no filtering, no trying to make it sound better or worse, just first thing off the top of your mind, what comes out. So just pause the video quickly and just write down the first 3 things that come to your mind. Okay, so welcome back. So when we do this in groups, and Dana, you've experienced this, people put down, so they might put down, and I've done this with British, they might put down polite, or they might put down don't show their emotions, or they might put down oppressors, because we did some pretty horrendous things around the world. So that might view, or it might be that they say fair play, or they might say cricket, or they might say, so there's a whole host of things that will come out from our unconscious, when I ask you to put down what you think, what you have down as British. Did you do it, Dana? Did you put down a couple of?
I didn't, and well, I put punctual, fancy, and royal, like very elegant, which are, like, I believe you're going to touch this point. For me, for example, now that you're saying this, it makes me realize that it comes from our own experiences and the things that we've learned from others about these people. Yeah. So it's not necessarily a rule, but it's how we lived these people.
Yes. So if you look at myself, and people have had whole sorts of different things. So you had kind of punctual, neat, or smart, or and royal. Now, my great-grandfather was the illegitimate son of Edward VII, so I am royal. I do have that. However, as you can say, I started on this call with quite smart hair, and instantly I become scruffy very quickly. It's just something that happens to me. I can be very smart, and I close my eyes, I wake up, and I'm not smart or thing. And they would always say about me that on my gravestone, they would say, "Here lies the late Nicholas Haines," because I'm always late. I'm not punctual. I struggle. So you got the royal. That wasn't bad. But it's interesting when we do that with other people as an immigrant. When you arrive in the country, someone will say, "Oh, I'm from Mexico. Oh, Mexicans, they are," and we have a whole lot of different things that will appear, and they are in our unconscious mind, and they're very hard for people, and it will make the assumption of who you are. And I think, well, my experience for people that are coming from into a different country, they will arrive, they will be put in a box of immigrant, and that means something. So if we were to do the question, this thing with, write the first three things that come to your mind when you think of immigrant, people would have different things. They might have poor, helpless, so-and-so, or they might have proud, this, forthright, or strong, or determined, or brave, or bold, or any of these sorts of things. But some people, so it would be positive or negative. So you are being, as I was being British, I'm put in a box, and as immigrants, you will be put in a box. As we will reveal later, the boxes are all made up. They're not true unless we believe that they're true. And this is one of the things. So that was one question I wanted people to ask themselves. Just do that thing with me, and you came up with something else. What is British? So to take this further, to explore the who are you, and I want to create a bit of a contrast between who you were and who you are now, because there might be a difference, and what are the challenges within that. So what I'd like you to do is, again, just pause the video, but this time just write down 3 boxes that when you were back home, before you became an immigrant, and 3 boxes that you were in. Okay, so again, just pause the video, 3 boxes. Okay, so people, welcome back. If you're doing the pausing and unpausing, that will make sense. If not, you'll have just seen me looking slightly scruffy. So one of the things, there will be things that people would have put down in those boxes. And Dana, can I ask what you put down in those boxes? Would you mind?
Really hard for me. I only found 2 boxes.
No problem.
That's sad. It's like my definition of myself just grew up when I arrived here, and now I have many other boxes.
Yes.
Like a bunch. Before I was just a daughter and a lawyer.
Okay, so you were a daughter and a lawyer. Those were two boxes. That's cool. That's good. So we have that place that we had those set of boxes, and you had daughter and you had lawyer. So the next question is, which boxes are you still in? So of those boxes that the listeners, and which boxes are you still in? So that's the next bit I want you to think about. And perhaps, Dano, as you're here as an able subject,
yeah,
a willing volunteer, so which box do you think, which box are you still in?
I might say that I play my boxes at convenience.
Mm.
So that means that for me, for example, when I need to feel more powerful, I will introduce myself as a lawyer. But
Mm-hmm.
when I want to bring a little bit more of feelings, or, well, I will say, I am a daughter. Of course, I am still a daughter. Of course I
Yes.
am. But, I play all my boxes at convenience.
Mm. Mm. And then there's also within that situation, and the immigrant box is a very wide box, isn't it, with all sorts of situations. So the next kind of question would be that which, which boxes have you lost? Which boxes did you lose as a result of becoming an immigrant? So sometimes sometimes people can have been a doctor where they were, and then they come to a new country, and actually their qualifications don't translate, or they could be a teacher, or they could be, or they could have been a lawyer, and then actually they're not able to practice in that particular country. So their status or their lawyer box that gave them a sense of identity and this is who I am has been taken away, and it's been replaced by I am an immigrant. So the next is just to really look and say, which boxes have you lost? But also at the same time, which boxes have you gained? What did you get as a result of it? So you might have been something in your previous country, and then you come here and you reinvent yourself and you say, oh, now I'm a. So there is a balance between this question of who am I? If we're defining that by boxes, which has a danger to it, let's look at the danger of saying, if I'm defined by a box that's taken away, how does that make me feel? And it's so again, just kind of pausing the video to have a think about this, to say, okay, well, which boxes did I lose and which boxes did I gain? And what does that mean? Because when we have a bereavement or a loss, it's sometimes important to acknowledge or to see that actually I do miss that. Or you might think, I'm very glad that went. So again, just pause the video just for a minute if that's helpful for you, and just explore that. Okay, so we'll just then pause. Then we'll come. And Dana, I'm curious. You were in the lawyer box when you were in Mexico. Did you stay in the lawyer box when you arrived in Canada?
No, I actually didn't. I tried to continue a master's degree in international law,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a lot of pressure, so I failed all the exams.
Yeah.
And it didn't hurt as much. I just realized that I was taking a lot of responsibilities at the same time. And all this to say that at the end, I actually figured out that I didn't want to continue in that box. So what you're talking about, losing that box, for me, becoming an immigrant, so coming into this box was an opportunity for me to live in that box and become something different.
Yeah.
Of course, I will, as I told you, I will sometimes put myself in that box again, just for a little bit of a background.
Yeah.
But no, actually, no, I didn't continue being a lawyer.
Mm, mm. And I think one of the and again, I'm hoping that people will be watching this that are not immigrants, that are people that are either working with or understanding, or just are curious of the exploration, to understand the very nature of what we can do to ourselves in terms of putting ourselves in boxes, what we can do to other people, and just creating the awareness that there are boxes that I have been put in, and I put myself in, and this really, really important question of do I choose to let that box define me or hold? Do I choose to let that happen? Because people that aren't immigrants, they don't ever get to ask that question. Very, very rarely, unless they have some major event. But most of the time, people don't get to make choices. They just live in the box and assume that's all they can ever be. But as an immigrant, you have a completely different experience in that you get to choose in a way that other people don't get to choose, because you're exposed to that very thing as to whether or not you want. So you, if you had stayed in Mexico, you probably would have never chosen to leave there.
Of course not.
No, no. So there is, you can't in any way say this is an easy experience to be given this. However, you do get to be opened up to a higher level of development of you as a individual, to really question, who am I? And to make choices around who you want to be in a way that is a gift that people don't experience unless they have some major trauma. The challenge can be is that it's not only us that put ourselves in boxes, but other people decide that they want to do that to us. But again, we have choice as to whether or not we want to step into that box or not. So I was in, when I worked in, when I went to live in Los Angeles and I went to live in America, people had a very clear idea about what British people were like, what English people were like. And I was clearly put in a box, was someone that I didn't show my emotions, was all very thing, and they had a very, very clear idea. So I chose to be a rebel within my box. I was the biggest hugger in California, which takes some doing. So it was none of this British, I just became a hugger because I wanted to rebel. I was less polite because they usually think people are really English, and English never say what they think. They're always so polite. I was very unpolite in America compared, and I became the opposite. But I had a choice there. I could become more British or I could become less British. But what I was aware that I was representing Britain. And that can be a challenge. So whenever we're put in a different situation, we have lots of choices are taken away from us without doubt, but we're also given choices that other people don't even have the thought process. So my question would be really, which boxes do you choose to be put into? Which boxes do you choose to see yourself in? And it could be you say, I'm going to be in nobody's box. Mm-hmm. I choose not to have any. I choose not to be British. I choose to be human. And I'm going to say, what would the highest version, or I would choose to be Nick. And what would the highest version of Nick do or be? What would that look like? Would that highest version of Nick be brave? Would he be strong? Would he be kind? Would he be compassionate? Would he be understanding? I'm in no box. I just choose who I get to be. Other people might say, oh, you're British. And I go, they can say whatever box they want, but I choose to be Nick. And I choose to be this sort of person. And that's who I am. unless I choose to be British and a guitar player with scruffy hair that runs left. But I get to choose. So I think one of the really powerful things and experiences the immigrants can have is the opportunity to do a different level of choice. To now, is that easy? No, there are challenges to it. So it's a time for me to give my gift.
Well, yeah, sure. But before you go with your gift,
Yeah,
you made me remember when I actually wrote an article for WIA, and the title is Immigrants with Karma. And I was talking about exactly the karma that the name or the box immigrant gives us immediately as we arrive to the new country.
yeah,
So I always tell my clients and my community that we are actually ambassadors of our own countries.
yeah.
So that is the way that I am trying for all the
Mhm.
people to break that box of all the mean things that other people could think about
Yeah,
the nationalities of each
yeah,
immigrant,
yeah,
and for them to become, I don't know, Diana, the Mexican who's responsible, punctual,
yeah.
neat, honest, and others, because there is where you break that stereotype, when you break
Mm,
what others think and the boxes that they put you in. So
yeah,
of course it's better to just call ourselves our names and to have our own little box with all the beautiful qualities that we want to put inside.
yeah,
But well, if we are going to actually handle this box for the rest of our lives, because society decides that we all have different boxes, at
mm,
least if we are going to have this immigrant box, for it to be the best box ever.
yeah. I love that. And then kind of expanding that, isn't it? Because the boxes could be, you say, well, actually, I love being Mexican. I love the food or this or whatever it is that you love. And I kind of, when I find Mexicans, we have some good time because we understand. So that might be a choice. I'm going to stay. But then it also could be, like you say, I will be the finest example of Mexican that the world has ever seen. And I was surprised. And like I decided to be anti-British because
Yeah,
I have a slightly rebellion. That, and I think if I had my choice again, I might be more. But I think this biggest thing, it goes back to um, what if we, within our boxes that we decide we want to keep, that gets to be our choice, what if we then decided, actually, I'm also going to be at the same time, I'm going to be these things, an ambassador, an finest example. At the same time, I'm going to show other human beings what it is like to be the finest ambassador of mankind and womankind, of humankind. What would it be like if I was the finest ambassador for human beings? What would that look? What would that look like? And that is in our gift to choose whether or not we want to do that, to stretch, to be whatever it is, but to have those choices. And I think it's the unity, regardless of whether you're an immigrant or you're not an immigrant. We're all in that same opportunity, that same gift to say, what if I got to try and explore to be the finest ambassador for human beings the world has ever seen? What would that look like? And that's perhaps who I choose to be. And the other boxes I play with, should I choose to.
yeah,
And it gets to be, and I think that's very special that immigrants have a head start on that ability to play at being the best human they can be, because they have had so many of their boxes taken away or given or changed or confronted. Most people don't. Most people don't.
yeah. Most people, like, when they don't have to face this kind of changes, so
Yeah.
drastic changes, they stay being whatever box they were for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And yeah, I see, I see on us the power of reinventing ourselves,
Mm,
and today being a lawyer, next day being
mm,
an administrative assistant, next day partnerships manager, and
mm,
next day an owner of a community. So
mm.
it
There
depends.
is nothing more dangerous than being comfortable,
Yeah,
and that's the there is a danger in being very comfortable.
yeah,
What
yeah.
happens? Does change happen? No. Um, so again, this has been a real honor to be part of this, to have these sorts of conversations.
Thank
Um,
you, Nick.
should we do the little gift now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Do the little gift.
I'm
And
anxious. I want to know.
it's a funny gift. It's a gift that's about changing the way that you think. Okay. So the gift is that the recognition or the realization or the understanding that we have our unconscious mind and we have our imagination. And the understanding is that our unconscious mind and our imagination will answer any question that you give it. And neither the imagination or the unconscious mind will care if the answer helps you or it doesn't help you. It doesn't care. It will just answer. So if I was to say, oh, what's wrong with me? Then my unconscious mind and my imagination will tell me what's wrong with me. And it will give me a list. And my imagination will make up things. And the more I ask it and the worse I feel. And then I say, why do I feel so bad? Then it will tell me why I feel so bad. It will tell me what's wrong with it. It will answer the question that I ask it. And it has no care as to whether that makes me feel good or depowers me, or it will just answer the question. So the gift is that understanding, and the choice that you get to choose the question that you want to ask your unconscious mind, the question that you want to ask your imagination. So if I was to ask my imagination and my unconscious mind, why is it important to remember that I am powerful? Then your unconscious mind will say, why is it important to remember that you're, or if you ask the question, why am I strong? Your unconscious mind will say, well, I'll tell you why you're strong. You're strong because you had to be, or you're strong because this. Or if you ask the question, why am I adaptable? Why can I deal with change? And it says, well, I tell you why you can deal with change. Because, and it gives you. Or if you were to ask the question in a situation, what would the highest version of me do now? Your imagination, your unconscious mind would say, this is what the best of you would do now. And then you get to make choices with, so you have two things with, I call these conscious questions. You can use a conscious question to empower yourself, to give yourself from your unconscious a different sense. So you could ask the question, why am I always free to think the way I want to? And, or if you're in a situation that you have a difficult situation you might be in, you might ask the question, what in this situation is my gift to the world? And your unconscious mind and your imagination has to answer that question. It might take a little bit of time, it might struggle, but it would, or even just asking the question, why can I cope? Why can I deal with this? Why can I handle this? What in my past has made me the best person to deal with this? And your unconscious mind will hear that question. What in my past has made me the best person? It will say, well, this in your past made you good at doing this. And so all of those questions will, whereas if you ask the question, oh, why am I so awful? What's wrong? Why did I deserve this? It'll say, well, you deserve this because. So the gift is for you that understanding that you get to choose what you want to ask your imagination and your unconscious mind. And the gift is it will give you the answer. So choose the question that you want to ask. And with that understanding, when someone you know is struggling and they're going, oh, why am I sick? Just say, well, ask a question that will give you the answer that you want, that will help you and serve you. Like, why am I strong? Why am I adaptable? Why am I flexible? Why am I a gift to the world and to this situation? And you ask that question, and your imagination, your unconscious, universe, and the God will answer that question, say, it is because this. And that is your gift that you then take forward. So you get to choose the questions that you ask, because that's who you get to, that's what you get to do. And that was my gift. That understanding was a little gift.
That's the best gift ever, because, well, of course, in this situation, we're talking about immigrants, but these questions must be asked by everybody in the world, because I believe that all the goodness in the world comes from positive and good actions and minds and good mindset, etc. And when you are talking about like not asking questions that are lowering our energy, and instead are lifting us up and giving us proof that yes, we can, yes, we're able, yes, we are adaptable, yes, we are strong, yes, we are powerful, yes, we are capable. So yeah, what else do we want? After that, it's just the proof that we can go on and continue doing it.
And the subtle difference is that if we say, I am strong, it comes from our intellect and our logic. It doesn't come from our unconscious mind, which is where our power is. Whereas you say, why am I strong? All the unconscious will tell you that. And your imagination will say, oh, it's because this and that. And you tap into something. So it's tremendously. And I had a 2-year waiting list to work with me when I had my practice. And it was on the back of those sorts of questions that I would get people to ask, and they would suddenly flip their thinking from not being able to do something or being in a place to suddenly thinking, actually, no, I can do this. I am able to do this. I have the choice because you ask the question. And like you say, it applies to anybody, regardless of whether you're an immigrant. It's useful to do that. So that's a gift. And I call them conscious questions. And we can put in them in your membership area. We can put some work with the No More boxes. We can do some conscious questions. We can give gifts to your community, can't we?
Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. I know, like we need to talk about that more, and I can't wait for us to decide on how we are going to manage bringing more joys for members at the member zone, and bringing more material from the No More Boxes movement, because us, the Worldwide Immigrants Association and the No More Boxes movement, are so in tune with the vision and mission, and creating more awareness, and that we are all individuals, we are all humans, and we are all owners of the same rights and obligations in this planet, which is called Earth.
Yeah.
In this box.
Yeah. And there's only one place to live, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. Nick, this has been a marvelous masterclass. I love to have this kind of discussions with you. I always learn. I'm extremely grateful, and even if you don't want to, I am honored for your presence.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I really do. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you. And well, this has been a pleasure, and just stay tuned, because there's going to be more about No More Boxes and Nick and Runa and the things that we can do together. So thank you so much, Nick, and see you all next time.
Yes, thank you. Bye.